Good Tuesday morning. Good morning, Nonstop Mom. Good morning, Bama Cat from Tennessee. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope well. I hope your Tuesday morning or your Tuesday has started out pleasantly. Mine's doing good. So far, so good. Just waiting for court to start. Let me get over to the YouTube so I can share my screen. Oh boy. I do not know what we have on tap as far as witnesses today, because I think that they finished with the two BCI special agents yesterday. So I'm not entirely sure who they have today, but I'm curious. Obviously, we still don't have or don't know yet if Angela and Jake Wagner are going to opt out. It's always a possibility. They have that option. Good morning, Support with Steffa. How are you? If you missed it, I made a community post this morning for my very good friend and mod, Samantha Dunn. She has an excellent channel. She does meditation, readings. She is incredibly talented. She can help you de-stress. She is great. And I would really appreciate it if you would go and give her a like and a subscribe to her channel. I'll put it in the chat here in just a second. Good morning, Lorianne. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. I am completely fascinated by this case because, oops, just first of all, the level of just the way that this family went about what they did, the planning, and then the carrying out the plan, and then beyond that, the stuff that they did, to keep from being caught. But it's interesting because here's Samantha Dunn's channel. Oh, did it not? I don't like when I don't know what's there. It is. I don't like what's. Good morning, Super Mama D. Good morning, Mrs. M. YouTube, when they did their update, their chat is still wonky, and that was like 3 updates ago. Get it together, YouTube. Come on. But anyway, what this family did in the planning, then the carrying out, then the not getting caught, blows my mind. And then, but on top, there's only so much forethought that you can do and planning, and then, covering your tracks, right? There's always a slip up. Mistakes are made. And thank you, Support with Steffa. And if, with this family, I think the real undoing was the fake custody papers, where they had it dated and signed as if it was something that Hannah Roden had authored and then signed in 2014. And then when they got a hold of the laptop and they looked at the programming and whatnot, like your computer keeps track of everything that you do ever. So when they went back and saw when the document was created, and it was 2016. That was a little hitch in there. Get along for sure. No, I haven't, Mrs. M. Would you email it to me? Do you need my email? I'll put it in the chat for you. Please email me. I would love to see that picture. All right, there's my email. Yeah, I didn't check out their Facebook because I didn't follow this case in real time. How I found the case was the oxygen special. And I was very intrigued because if I'm remembering correctly, and I think we've confirmed this a couple of times, that the way that the oxygen special ended was there hadn't been an arrest yet or any arrests at that point. So it was sort of a cliffhanger. And then, you know how life gets. You keep it in the back of your mind, but you have other things going on and you kind of, forget about it, to be quite honest. Not because it doesn't mean anything. It's just that, life gets that way and your brain can only handle so much, or maybe my brain can only handle so much. But anyway, I kind of, nothing really was coming out. You know what I mean? So there wasn't any like new things coming out that I was following, because I haven't been on Facebook in a long time. So then I was looking at YouTube, and I started, Law and Crime, I think it was. Yeah, it had to be Law and Crime. I don't think it was Court TV, but Law and Crime had a little blurb real quick about a jury being picked, or, not being picked, but they were going to pick the jury. And I was like, oh, wow. And so I started, paying more attention and just waiting to see. And then I went back, obviously, and I saw that, Angela and Billy Wagner had taken plea deals and, all the things. And so I renewed my interest. It renewed my interest in this case, because at the end of the day, you guys all know, you've heard me say it 11 billion times. I'm not going to bore you saying it again, but I am truly fascinated by true crime. I really am. And I really like to see justice. And we are very lucky in that we have the technology now to stream trials, whereas before, with Court TV, because they were really the first that had all the time trials. And but it was a channel on cable. So if you had just if you didn't have cable, obviously you didn't have Court TV. But now you don't have to have cable. You have to. Hey, Kate Does Crime. Good morning, Mo. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, well, have a good nap, Kate. Did you find your did you find your missing friend, your missing reptile friend? There we go. That's better. That sounds better. Yeah. Did you find your missing reptile friend? But anyway, it's, I'm grateful that we have the kind of technology where we can stream the trials right to the internet. Hey, Amelia Sparkles. All right, let me check my email. Let's see. I don't have anything just yet, but it should be shortly here. Where we can, just stream these trials and watch the proceedings take place. Plus, I always learn something from every trial about the law, and I think that's, I don't know, it's a good thing. So we're just kind of kicking it, waiting for trial to start. Okay, make sure I have the volume on. Nothing's really happening right yet, but it's only 9:03, so got to give it time. Good morning, Corky. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. I don't even have I couldn't even begin to think of a suggestion for you. It might be a little crackly. Let me fix it. Hang on just a sec. Okay, how about now? Is that better? I don't have the foggiest idea of how to teach of a trick to try to lure him out. I When my youngest daughter had hamsters, okay, she had two. Their names were Pea and Carrot. And Carrot was definitely the troublemaker of the duo. And he was forever escaping. And what we used to do, and I know this sounds mean, but it was supervised, is I used to let my cat, because Carrot was always in their room, so I couldn't, he couldn't go far. And so what I used to do is I had an orange tabby. His name was Monty, and I would bring Monty in the bedroom, and Monty would find him, right? And this was relatively safe because Monty would find him, but once he sussed him out, he didn't really know what to do. So he was just there for location purposes, and then I would take Monty out of the room, and usually my husband would get the hamster. But yeah, that's how it. And I don't think that's a good idea to do with lizards because I know for me, Alice and Mac definitely know what to do if they were to catch a lizard. So I wouldn't suggest that. I have just no idea how you would even lure a lizard out other than maybe make the house cold so that he would have to find someplace warm. That's the only thing I can think of. But I don't even I wish I could help. Well, I know he'll turn up. There you okay, so heat and food, that's it. I know you're worried. I'm sure he's just fine. He's just laying low. He'll come. Oh dear. See? This is why I can't be a lizard or reptile mom because well, I suppose I if I had one, I would hit up Kate because she knows all the things, or I'd hit up the Googles and stuff like that. So, you know, Kate, have you thought about maybe when you do find him, and then maybe moving forward into the future, with the rest of your babies, how about making them
Thank
wear a
you.
little
Please be
collar
seated.
with a veil, so you can find them? All right, let's see what's happening this AM. Court's in
This is the
session,
case
y'all.
of State of Ohio, plaintiff versus George Washington Wagner IV, defendant, case number 2018 CR 155. And this is another day of jury trial in that case. The defendant is present in court today. His attorneys, John Parker and Richard Nash. The State of Ohio is represented by the prosecuting attorney, Rob Junk, who is present, and also present are special prosecutors, Angela Canepa and Andrew Wilson. Also present at the state's table is Ryan Scheider, special agent with Ohio
Well, I hope you
DCI 9.
find him, Kate. I really do. I
We
know you
finished, I
will.
believe, the
He's just hiding.
testimony of Todd Fortner yesterday afternoon. Is the state ready to proceed today to call another witness as soon as we bring the jury in? We are. Is the defense ready?
Yes, we'd like to approach sidebar if you could.
All right.
See, this is why you can't be relying on closed captioning, because he said BCI and closed captioning had it as obesity. Okay, so that's clearly not accurate. He did not say anything even remotely, that would context clues would lead you to believe he meant obesity, for Pete's sake. Get it together, YouTube. Come on. I wonder what they're already sidebarring about. They've been in session for 2 seconds, for Pete's sake. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just nosy. And I have no shame about it. I see George Washington Wagner the Fourth is making this be day number 7 in court for George Washington Wagner the Fourth. However, it is day 11,033 for the vest. In case anybody's keeping track of how many times that vest has made an appearance in the court. I believe that number is accurate. 11,033 is the number. So there you go. You all be pleased to know that your girl did get her 5-hour. I've had my 5-hour and my coffee this morning, so I am ready to go. Oh, thank you, Super Mama D. I mean, thank you. I just say the things that I'm thinking in my brain, and good morning, Tony, and they just come out of my mouth. Also, oh dear. No, I didn't. I'm gonna have to pay attention. All right. Surely I'll be safe in the car. Make sure you lock your doors, Amelia. I'm precious cargo. I don't want to get snatched. I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but if I don't, it's going to bother me. So, currently, at any given time, I have no less than at least 3 songs running through my head. And this morning's song is "Who You Trying to Get Crazy With the Say? Don't you know I'm loco?" That song. Insane in the Brain. Little Cypress Hill on this Tuesday morning. I will spare you because obviously every single lyric is going through my brain. But I won't repeat it all. I won't sing it so you guys don't have to worry about it getting into your heads. But it's right there. All right, I want to also, oh, I got it. Hold on, let me check this. Let me get this email right quick.
We can bring the jury in now.
All right. Huh. That's interesting. All right, let me. Huh. Let's see. What are you doing, Jen? Oh, yes, downloading it. I'm sorry, Corky. I'm so sorry. I can't help it. There's something fundamentally not right about me. And the more you stick around, the more you'll come to that realization. And honestly, there's uh hold on, let me fix this so I know what it is. I don't know what to do about it. Oh, okay. I'm about to show y'all what Mrs. O sent me. Thank you, Mrs. O. I appreciate that, babe. Good morning, crazy mama. How are you? This is also day 11 billion 34 with George Washington Wagner the Fourth, unchanging, resting, criminal face. Accused criminal. I gotta be quiet. I better be careful. Good. I'm glad, Corky. You found Joe Tribe. I don't know where he is. He must have. Maybe he's getting some
Good
coffee.
morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I don't know what he's doing. Oh, wait. I don't want to do this.
Today,
Hold on.
we begin another day of trial. You'll recall that yesterday, at the end of the day,
I love this judge and his
we had
recaps.
concluded with the testimony of Agent Todd Fortner. So is the state of Ohio ready to proceed today to call another witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes.
All right, the state may call another witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Dr. Lohman to the stand.
What? All right, give me just a second. I am downloading it now. While it's
That's the
downloading,
raising
I
right
just
hand.
want you
Do
guys
solemnly
to
swear or
know
affirm that the test you give shall be the
that
truth, the whole
obviously
truth,
this
and
is a
nothing but the
doctor.
truth as you shall answer.
So
You may be seated.
the testimony is probably going to be graphic. So let me just warn you now. I have no idea what's about to come out of her mouth, excuse me. So here it is. There you go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before we start, none of these photos will be suitable for publishing.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Good morning.
Can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Dr. Karen Lohman, and it's Looman.
And Dr. Lohman, can you tell us what you do for a living?
I'm a forensic pathologist.
Okay. And where do you work?
I work at the Hamilton County Coroner's Office in Cincinnati.
Okay. And in fact, you are the chief deputy coroner there. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. Can you please just give us an idea about the type of education you've received to get to where you are?
Yes, I graduated college. I then went to medical school, which is 4 years. And in medical school, they teach you the basics about medicine. After I finished medical school, I was in the Navy for 4 years, working with live patients. I then went into a residency where they train you specifically in the medicine that you want to practice. And in that case, I was in a pathology residency learning diseases of the individual.
I'm going to
After
turn
that,
her
I
down
had
because
training
I think we
in
can all agree
forensics,
that
part of
the
pathology, which is
forensic
non-natural
pathologists would
death.
have
I
a
learned how
crazy
to
amount of
examine those.
education. But
So after that, that's when I got a job.
this is a Facebook post that George Wagner
So you did
made
residency,
on
did you also do a
October
fellowship?
4th,
Yes,
And where did you do the fellowship?
2018,
that was in
which would be a
Norfolk,
month
Virginia. They
before the
have
arrest. And
what's
here
called a
comes
medical
Angela
examiner's
Wagner's
office
comment.
there, called the Tidewater
Really?
Office of the
Now, I
Chief
don't
Medical
know
Examiner.
because there's no punctuation after it,
And
if it's a
can you tell
statement
us,
or if it's a
where you got your
question
first job?
or an
My first
exclamation,
job was actually in
because
Cincinnati at the Hamilton County
again,
Coroner's
no
Office.
punctuation. She just wrote the word
And what year
really.
was that?
2008.
But you'll notice that the wolf
And
has
at what
2
point did you become the chief
scratches
deputy
over
coroner?
its
That
eye.
was in
So
2015.
I'm sure that's a reference
And can
to
you
what
tell us,
happened.
um,
Yes, it's
as
creepy.
when you first
Very
started working,
creepy.
in Hamilton County, was that as a deputy coroner?
All right,
Yes.
let's turn her
And
up.
can you just tell us, what does a deputy coroner do?
Deputy coroner's job is
Thank you
to
for sending
determine
that, Mrs.
the
O.
reason why people die.
It's
And
very
the people that
creepy.
come to our office are those that die in non-natural ways. So all accidents, suicides, homicides come to our office. Skeletonized bodies that are found, little babies under the age of 2 come to our office. Actually, anybody that doesn't have a physician when they pass away comes to our office, because part of our job is also completing the death certificate so that an individual can get buried or cremated.
And what are your duties as a chief deputy coroner?
As a chief deputy, I do some administrative stuff, like I write the schedule and keep track of the other doctors in the office. I also work with my morgue supervisor and the morgue techs that help us perform autopsies. I also work with my investigative supervisor who deals with the investigators that go out to scenes.
And do you also serve as a representative on other agencies, such as the health department or,
Yes.
okay, and explain that.
You can imagine with the opiate crisis, the health department wanted to keep track of the numbers of people that pass away. And so our office and I worked with them to keep track of the number of people that died from drug overdoses and the type of drugs they died from. There's also a committee called the Child Fatality Review, where we keep track of the children that die under the age of 18, why they died, and how we can prevent those children from dying in the future, similar children dying in the future. We also teach the medical students at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. They come and watch autopsies and help us and learn how to determine why people die or what happens with certain illnesses. We also teach their pathology residents. They have a pathology program, and they come to our office and get experience in performing autopsies.
And how many doctors are employed there at the Hamilton County Coroner's Office?
Including me, there are 7.
Okay. And do you still conduct examinations?
Yes.
Or autopsies? Are you board certified?
Yes.
And what are you board certified in?
Anatomic pathology and forensics.
Okay. And I guess I should have you
My
explain
2
that
dream
term.
jobs would
What does
be
board certified
lawyer,
mean?
The board certified
And
is where you take a test to
forensic
prove that you
pathologist.
know the knowledge for pathology and forensics that's expected in someone who represents themselves as being a forensic pathologist or a pathologist.
Okay. Have you testified as an expert before?
Yes.
Okay. How many times would you say?
Approximately 100.
Okay. And where, in what location or what jurisdictions?
I have testified in Hamilton County, in Claremont County, in Butler County. I have testified in one of the counties in Kentucky. I believe it was Kenton County, and in Indiana, in Ripley County and Dearborn County.
Your Honor, at this time, I would request that this witness be permitted to testify as an expert specializing in pathology.
Any objections?
No objection, we'll stipulate to.
The court will grant that request.
Dr. Lemon, just approaching you with what I have marked as State's Exhibit E 260. If you can just briefly look over that and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes,
And what do you recognize that as?
this is my CV
Okay, something that you've prepared.
that talks about my education and the groups I work with, and for example, duties that I do, as well as any papers that I've written. It's just kind of like a professional paper that tells you this is who I am.
It's her resume.
And I neglected to say, is that 4 pages stapled together?
It's 4 with the last page blank, but, oh no, it isn't. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the last page is blank.
Well, that's not helpful. Okay. All right. And Doctor, can you just kind of walk us through what happens, first of all, what counties do you conduct autopsies for?
We conduct autopsies for Hamilton County and Claremont County. We used to do autopsies in Pike County.
Crazy mama.
There are a couple counties in Indiana, Dearborn, Decatur, and Ripley County. We perform autopsies, and we don't do any in Kentucky.
Okay. And can you tell us, how do bodies come to you in order for you to conduct autopsies?
So an individual dies at their house. Usually EMS gets called, the police get called, they go out to the scene and they see what's going on. Usually after they get some ideas to what happened to the individual, maybe they passed away, it looks like they passed away in their sleep in their bed, they'll call our office and they'll kind of report what they found, and we determine if it sounds like it's a non-natural death and it needs to come to our office. In our county, if the death happens in Hamilton County, we then send an investigator out to the scene to also investigate, to take pictures for us, to look at the body for trauma, to look for pills, medications that may be at the scene, or drugs or drug paraphernalia that may be at the scene, any sort of history of medical issues that the individual has. Our investigator puts that body then in a white body bag and seals it. So they're put in the bag as they're found at the scene with their jewelry, and if they have their wallets in their pockets, it all goes in the body bag, and the bag is sealed so that nobody can get in. That body is then transported to our
Hey,
office
birthday
and put in
cakes.
the cooler.
Good
And
morning.
those bodies can be transported to our office 24 hours a day. There's always somebody there to receive them.
Okay, and you indicated that, well, if it happens in Hamilton County, you would send out an investigator. If it happens in another county, do you send out an investigator?
No, we don't.
Okay. And you indicated that upon arrival, a body would be placed in a cooler. If you can tell us what kind of a cooler, what's the temperature, what is the purpose of that?
So a body starts to die after your heart stops beating and your brain stops working, you're pronounced dead. The body tissues then start to die, and a medical term for that is decompose. And one way to slow that down is to put a body in cool environment. And so we perform autopsies first thing in the morning. We don't do autopsies all night. So if a body comes in the afternoon, after we've finished what autopsies we would be for the day, they have to go in a cooler because it will slow down the decomposition that the body starts to develop after they've died. And so our cooler is approximately 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're put on carts in that cooler. And the cooler that we have will hold approximately 80 bodies.
Do you also have a deep freeze available?
We do. Some bodies you can imagine come to us if they haven't been found in a while. They've already started to decompose. Sometimes we put them in a cooler that's a little colder, like at 30, 32 degrees, really trying to stop the decomposition from going any farther.
And then if you can tell us just generally how you go about conducting an autopsy.
So an autopsy has several steps. Um, One of the basic ones is you're doing an external exam of the body. You open the body bag and you're looking to see what the body looks like in the body bag. You look to see the condition of the clothes, if they are clothed. You look at the body to look for injuries, if there are any there. You're looking to see scars, because scars can tell you what kind of surgery somebody had, can give you some medical history. Um, And then there's an internal examination where we actually cut open the body. We look at the organs to see what kind of disease people have. If the organs are injured from a car accident, you want to look at those organs and to see if that's a lethal injury. Is that a severe injury? Is that something that they could have survived from? After we look at the organs, we actually remove the organs from the body and look at hold each individual organ, weigh it, and cut through it, looking to see if there's tumors in there. Sometimes there's a better way of looking at disease if you actually look on the inside of the organs as well. So that's an internal examination. We also, even before we cut the body, we actually x-ray bodies if we have an idea that there was trauma with a knife or a bullet, because we want to be able to see where the bullets are. We can figure out where to recover them from. If there's broken bones, if somebody was walking on the sidewalk and got hit by a car, we want to be able to see what bones are broken in their legs versus their head or their back. It kind of could tell us how they were hit or where they were hit. It would tell us a story. We also draw what's called toxicology, or blood samples from the individual, so that we can see what kind of drugs are in their system and see if those drugs may cause the death or contributed to the death or had nothing to do with the death.
Okay. And once you have conducted all of this examination of the body, do you then reach an opinion as to what
Good
the
morning
cause of
in
death
5, 6,
was?
7, 8.
In many cases, you can, right at the beginning, you have an idea of what caused their death. Sometimes you have to wait for toxicology to come back in case it's an overdose and it's a young individual with no disease at all. But eventually there will be an opinion that's created by what I found, what the toxicology shows. Sometimes I look at the tissues under the microscope to see what disease looks like under the microscope. When all that information comes back, I put it all together and create an opinion as to what I think caused the death.
Okay. And you mentioned toxicology. Is that something that is conducted at the location where you are, where the coroner's office is?
Yes, our office has a toxicology department.
Okay. And if you can just explain briefly, what does toxicology look for?
Toxicology on every case looks for alcohol, if someone has alcohol in their system. And then what we do is we screen the blood looking for the most common things that people abuse and die from. And if we find something by a screen, the screen will only say positive. So then we have to go and see what that drug is, identify what that drug is, and identify the amount. We'll always look for alcohol, and we look for any common abused drugs.
Do you also examine the interior of the skull?
Yes, we do. We do look at the brain.
And can you tell us, why is it important to you to look to see if there's any bullets or bullet fragments left in the body?
Finding the bullets are important because that's actually evidence of a crime. So we want to collect those bullets because there are experts, firearm experts, that can look at those bullets and say what caliber it is. And if there's a gun to compare it to, sometimes they can say this bullet came from this gun, which may provide evidence to the police or the prosecutor as to what happened.
Good
with the
morning,
situation.
Shamina.
So it's evidence. The bullets are evidence that we need to collect.
Okay. And can you just tell us sequentially what happens when you are conducting an examination? they're obviously maintained in the cooler, still in the body bag. What happens then?
Our morgue techs are the ones that help prep the body. And so the body is pulled out of the cooler and the body bag is opened, and it's opened underneath a camera.
If you
So
haven't done
it
so
shows
already, would
what's
you
on the
guys
body
please
when
give
the
me a
body bag
thumbs
was
up on
opened.
the
So if there's
stream? I'd
jewelry around the
appreciate
neck,
it.
jewelry on the fingers, or in the ears or whatever, it documents what personal effects that we have found. At that time, once the body bag is open, our morgue techs kind of categorize what clothes are on the body, what personal effects are on the body, and put that in as evidence in our computer so that we have a chain of custody of where that piece of evidence goes. Who has it? Where is it? Who's touched it? And then if it moves somewhere else in the office, it gets scanned again. Now we know this person has it, they're touching it. So that's what the chain of custody is. We're keeping track of where everything is. After they've categorized what's on the body, and if we know if it's trauma, like from a gunshot wound, we will x-ray the body before we even do anything else, so that we can look and find, we know that there's bullets in there that we have to find. And then our morgue tech photographs the body as is. So with blood on the face, with dirt on the hands, with the clothes that they came with, we take pictures of them as is, as we open the body bag. After that, they collect evidence. So in the case of all homicides, we take fingernails. In case somebody was fighting with somebody and scrapped somebody, there may be DNA underneath the fingernails. So in all homicides, we collect those. In some cases, we take hair samples for DNA. In other cases, we take fingerprints on everybody just to confirm who they are. Hopefully, they've got fingerprints somewhere else that we can compare to, so we have identified who that person is. After that, then they take the clothes off. You take more photographs, even while they're still a little bloody. We're just showing in steps what the body looks like, and we document it by photographs. At that time, usually the doctor's not quite down yet in the office, in the morgue, and the morgue techs can collect blood samples. We also take fluid from
Okay,
the
Tony.
eyes. You can do toxicology on that. And we take urine too, because some drugs break down pretty quickly in the body, and you can only find it in urine. So they'll collect the body sample, the blood and fluid samples, and then the doctor will come down, and I will take a diagram and diagram what I see, diagram the injuries. I diagram scars, I diagram tattoos, and at that point, then we could probably start the autopsy.
And at what point is the body cleaned, or is the body cleaned, I should say?
The body is cleaned actually right before we start the autopsy, because we want very clear pictures of the wounds and the injuries that are on the body. So right before the autopsy, the body's cleaned and more photographs are taken.
And like you said, each step is photo documented very well, both as is, then once the clothes are removed, but the body's not yet cleaned, and then once the body is cleaned.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. And can you tell us, doctor, regarding gunshot wounds, is there a way for you to, or are there certain things or characteristics you are looking for when it comes to the wounds or injuries that you find?
Yes, there are a couple things that you can tell with gunshot wounds. You can tell which one's an entrance and which one's an exit wound. And you can also tell distance, how far somebody was between the gun, how far they were from the gun when they were shot.
Okay. And can you just
Hey,
tell us a little bit
Max.
about how you go about determining what an entrance wound is versus an exit wound?
You too, crazy mama.
Yes,
Enjoy
so
your day
an
too.
entrance wound is very similar. A bullet that comes out of the end of the gun has a spin so that it's straight. And as it hits the skin, it's still spinning a little bit, and it actually tears a little bit of skin off the edge of the hole that it's making. They call that an abrasion. very similar to you scraping your knee on the cement. You're scratching the surface of the skin off. The bullet scratches and tears a little bit of skin around the opening. That's an entrance wound. An exit wound just tears its way out. Sometimes, if it's a slower bullet, it will just leave also a circular hole, but there will be no abrasion collar. Other times, it tears and leaves a big hole. So that's how you can tell entrance and exit. Another way you can tell how close the gun is to you, if you can imagine, there's things other than a bullet that comes out of the end of a gun, because it's an explosion and fire that's causing that bullet to come out the end of the gun. So you've got the bullet, you've got gases, you've got smoke, you've got fire, you've got burned and unburned gunpowder coming out of the end of the gun. So if you've got the end of the gun and you're touching it to somebody's skin, many times that hole, the edge of the hole will be burned because it got burned by the fire that's coming out of the end of the gun. And sometimes in the head, if you get shot in the head, you may see that burn, and then you may see gunpowder actually on the bone underneath the scalp where somebody was shot. The farther away you are from the muzzle of the gun, you might have smoke on your skin. Pathologists sometimes call it soot or fouling. It looks gray. So you'll have gray smoke and somewhat of a circle around the wound, telling you that the gun was close but not touching. What also comes out are unburned gunpowder, and it actually strikes the skin and makes little red abrasions or polka dots. We also call that stippling on the skin. That tells you that the gun was not touching, not contact. We use the term intermediate, saying that it was not contact and it was not far away, it was in between. And it depends on the power of the weapon as to how far away the gun can be before you don't see any of that stippling or any of that smoke on the skin. Average, maybe about 3 feet before you don't see that anymore. So this is contact. That space in between where you see the soot and the stippling on the skin and maybe about 3 feet is called intermediate. And then beyond that, we call that indeterminate. Instead of distant, we call it indeterminate. So that's what you're looking for when you look at bullet wounds. You're looking to see which one's an entrance, which one's an exit, and if you can tell how close the gun was to the body when it was shot.
Can you talk to us about, I guess, the changes that the body goes through? You kind of alluded to this immediately upon life ceasing. What happens to the human body?
There are 3 main things that happen after you, right after you pass away. Your heart stops beating, and your heart is what's pushing all the blood through the body. And if there's no blood pressure anymore, the blood settles in the body, and it settles with gravity. So it'll settle in what's lowest in the body. So if you're laying on your back, blood settles along your back. After about 24 hours, that becomes fixed. In other words, it will not shift anymore. So if you die immediately and the blood settles on your back and then you flip somebody on their stomach, the blood will then settle to the stomach. But if they've been dead for 24 hours, approximately 24 hours, and they've been laying on their back and you flip them on their stomach, that liver will not change. It will stay on their back even though they're on their stomach. So that's rigor mortis, or the settling of blood. Another thing that happens is your body gets stiff. They call that rigor mortis. That's essentially immediately in small muscles like your eyelids and maybe your jaw. You have little energy factories in your muscles, and it runs out of energy after you die, and then you seize up, kind of like the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. You become stiff.
Well, that's a
Whatever
good analogy.
position your body is in is what you're stiff in. So if you're laying in your bed with your hand over your head like that, you will become stiff like that. Or if you lay on your back and you're just got your hands crossed, you'll become stiff like that. And it starts right away, and it maximizes out at about 24 hours. After about 24 hours, you are getting into the stage of decomposition where your body tissues are starting to decompose and it becomes obvious. So then that rigor disappears and you are floppy. And if in decomposition, the longer you go, the more discolored you are and the more body fluids there are.
And that takes approximately 24 hours to start.
The decomposition starts at about 24 hours where it becomes noticeable.
So the condition the body is in when you receive it, for instance, if it's still in rigor mortis, that would be information for you or facts that you would consider in determining approximately how long that individual had been dead.
Yes.
Is that correct? And likewise, if that had passed, then that also would be a hint as to how long they had been dead.
Yes.
Okay.
I always find the forensic pathologist
Dr. Lohman,
testimony
want
to be fascinating
focus your attention on the
in the way
autopsies
that they
you
explain
performed,
what they do,
in regards to
because
the
everyone
case we're
explains it a little bit
today.
different. And
Um,
she's very good at
first of all,
explaining it to the jury. And that's important.
You were the chief deputy coroner at that time, correct? Back in April of 2016?
Yes, I was.
Okay. But still conducting examinations?
Yes.
And can you tell us how you first learned about this incident?
At the time, Pike County would send their cases to us. And Friday morning, which I believe was the 23rd or the 22nd, called our office and gave us a notification that they found several people deceased, and they would send us more information, but they were letting us know that, I don't recall if they gave us the number of 8, but they said there were several people that they were found dead, and it looked like it was a homicide. So this was before 11 a.m. on that Friday.
Okay. And then did you later in the day have further conversations with Dr. Kessler?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us who Dr. Kessler is?
Dr. Kessler is the Pike County coroner. So if he has a non-natural death, he's the one that calls us and tells us he's sending the case. He makes the decision, and then he tells us that the case is coming to our office in Cincinnati.
Okay. And do you know if Dr. Kessler conducts any medical examinations himself?
I'm sure he does go to scenes and looks at bodies, yes.
Okay, but he does not conduct autopsies, I should say.
No, I don't believe so, no.
specifically. Okay. And thus why they would send their, anybody that needed an autopsy to the Hamilton County Coroner's Office.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And so you had a conversation with Dr. Kessler, and what did you learn then? What decisions were made at that time?
I learned that there were 8 individuals of a family, all related, that were dead. And I do not recall if at that time he told me there were 4 different scenes, but I believe I knew that they were not all in the same place. And one of the questions he asked me was sending 8 bodies too many. He wanted to know if maybe he should send us only some bodies and send some to another office that performs autopsies.
Okay. And what did you advise him at that time?
I advised him wherever he sends them, he needs to send them all to the same place so that one person is evaluating them, one person is writing the reports, so the terminology and the language is the same with every case, so that you're not relearning somebody's funny terms between all 8 cases.
Okay. And did he at that time indicate that he would therefore send all 8 to your office?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us, did you also make a decision yourself personally about who would conduct the examinations?
Yes.
And what was that decision?
That particular weekend, I was the one that was on call or accepting cases that came from Hamilton County and the outer counties. So these bodies arriving Saturday and Sunday would be my responsibility to do the cases.
Okay. And did you in fact ultimately conduct the autopsies on all 8 individuals?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us, if you recall, approximately what time those bodies arrived at the Hamilton County Coroner's office?
I believe they arrived Saturday around 5:30 in the morning.
And can you tell us what was done with each individual body upon arrival?
So the bodies came all together. So what happened was each body was given checked in and given a barcode and scanned and then put in the cooler. And then the next body was pulled in, given a barcode, scanned, and put in the cooler. And we did that with all 8. So that all of them, we didn't touch them, we didn't open them up. We actually accepted them, started the chain of custody, and put the bodies in the cooler until we were ready to start one at a time to prepare them.
Okay. And that is ultimately documented, correct? The time that they are, quote, scanned, given a barcode and scanned and placed in your
Wow,
cooler.
even in death,
our
you're
computer system
a
creates
number.
the chain of custody and tells us who has custody of the body and where it is.
Okay. Can you tell us, Dr. Lohman, how did you conduct these examinations as far as, did you do them all in one day? How did you go about approaching that?
With there being 8, I decided I would do the women on Saturday. I would do the men on Sunday, except for one gentleman, Christopher Sr., who looked like he was injured the worst and would take longer. So I did Christopher Sr. on Monday. So I did women on Saturday, the rest of the men on Sunday, and Chris Sr. on Monday.
Okay.
wow,
And
very
can you tell
organized.
us,
I appreciate that.
was there a representative from BCI present when you conducted these autopsies?
Yes.
And did you collect any personal effects or evidence or any bullets or bullet fragments from the bodies of these 8 individuals?
Yes.
And were those ultimately provided to the BCI agent that was present?
Yes.
When you first received the bodies and had the, kind of brief amount of information that Dr. Kessler had provided to you, did you have any initial thoughts, or did you want to pay particular attention to any particular issues at that time?
Yes. I did notice that many of the bodies were starting to show signs of decomposition.
Okay. Did you also form an opinion based on the fact that a lot of them, you were informed that a lot of them were shot while they were in their beds and many of them appeared to be sleeping?
Yes.
And what did you?
I'll be right back. I'm going to be in chat though.
What approach did you
So
take
you'll
as a result of
behave.
that information?
In regards to further testing or?
Yes.
Okay.
Or anything, yeah.
It became apparent looking at where the wounds were that it seemed that many of them were shot multiple times and never moved, never appeared to have reacted to other people in the house being shot as well. And so in my mind, I was trying to figure out why somebody wouldn't respond when other people in the house are getting shot. I think they would wake up with gunfire. So one of the things I did was did a little bit of extra toxicology to see if maybe they'd been drugged and they were all, didn't wake up because they were sleeping. And another thought was, well, mostly it was the drugs I was concerned about, that maybe they had drugs. The other thought, though, was that maybe there was something that was muffling the gunfire. But I can't find evidence on the body that would suggest that there's something that was muffling the fire. That's not something I could see, but that was in my head.
Okay, and when you say that's not something you could see, is it something you would ever be able to see?
Unless there's remnants of something that covered the gun, left at the scene, or showed to me, that's not something that shows up on the body.
But you were struck by the fact that the victims did not wake up when they were in the same residence as other individuals. And so you were considering either something that muffled the gun or possibly that they had been drugged such that they were not responding.
Would not wake up, that's correct.
Okay. Regarding the personal effects of individuals, if it is a homicide case, what do you do with those personal effects?
On all homicide cases, including clothing and any jewelry or money that's found on the body, we hold on to that. We don't, in other cases where there's not a concern of a homicide, we take the clothes off and put them in a bag and release them with the body when the funeral home comes to pick them up. But in cases of homicide, we hold on to all that because we're not sure what is considered evidence, what is considered important to the police or the prosecutor's office. So we hold on to that.
Okay. And in this case, you already testified that you gave those items to the BCI agent that was present.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall what the BCI agent's name was?
There were different people on different days.
Okay. I'm going to turn your attention now to the autopsy that you conducted of Chris Sr., which actually was the last autopsy that you conducted, but it's the one we'll deal with first today. I first want to provide you with several documents. Doctor, I'm first going to hand you, and I'm sorry because I did not count. I believe it's 12-page document stapled together. If you could go ahead and look at that and tell me if you recognize what that is. That is State's Exhibit.
Yes.
And what do you recognize that as?
This is the autopsy report with the opinion page and the toxicology on Christopher Roden Sr.
And is that a report that you prepared?
Yes.
In your normal course of business, do you always prepare a report after you've conducted an autopsy?
Yes, I do.
And then approaching you with a 6-page document marked as State's Exhibit E-257. Again, you can just look at that and tell me if you recognize what that is.
Yes.
What do you recognize that as?
These are diagrams that I created as I was looking at the body, and they describe injuries, scars, Other things that I found on the body, color of the hair, color of the eyes, bruises. I describe it on the diagrams, and then that in the photographs helped me write my report.
Okay. So the handwriting that appears on those documents in E258 or 257, sorry, that's your handwriting.
Yes,
Okay. And finally, E258, which is just a one-page document, if you can tell me if you recognize that.
yes.
And what do you recognize that as?
This is the chain of custody that our computer prints out and tells us when the body came to our office and when the body was released to a funeral home and left our office. So it's the chain of custody of the body.
And can you tell us, for Chris Senior, what time was his body placed in the cooler?
5:50 a.m. on the 23rd.
550, 550?
Yes,
I didn't know if I heard you. I didn't know if you said 550 or 558.
no, 550.
Okay. And again, you already indicated that you actually conducted his examination on that following Monday, which would have been, I believe, April 25th
Yes,
of 2016.
yes.
Okay. Can you go ahead and just walk us through what you did, what your initial observations were?
Looking at Christopher Senior as he was in the body bag, it was apparent to me that he was one of the people that was a little more decomposed
That's
than
all
some
you
of the
can do,
others.
babe, one day at a time.
He had some skin
I'm
coloration
glad to
changes,
know
and
today
he
was
no longer
better.
was stiff.
That's wonderful.
I also was able to see that there were a large number of wounds to his face that turned out to be gunshot wounds, and that he had 2 in his abdomen. And based on the x-rays, I knew that there were several bullets that I needed to recover.
Wow.
Okay, so talk to us about, you said that his body was one of the ones that was a little bit more decomposed than the others, and that rigor mortis had left his body. So at that point, I presume your belief is that it's been at least 24 hours since he has been killed,
Yes,
correct? And I should say at least 24 hours before he was placed in the cooler. Is that fair to say, or will he continue to decompose in the cooler?
the decomposition will slow down. It won't become as obvious if he was laying outside and was not in a cooler, but he did show a decomposition at the time we put him in the cooler.
Okay. And assuming for a moment that he was killed around 11 p.m. on Thursday night, okay? And he arrives to Hamilton County Coroner's Office at, I believe you said 5:50 a.m. is when his body was actually placed in the cooler.
Yes,
Correct. So close to 6 in the morning. So we're talking a full 24 hours plus an additional 7 hours. So around 31 hours before, from the time that he was killed until the time that he is placed in the cooler at Hamilton County Coroner's Office. Is that consistent with the decomposition that you found on Christopher Roden Sr.?
yes.
Okay, so I just want to, because we've heard a lot and it's been very technical, but what I want to point out here is that basically what the forensic pathologist has found here is that Christopher Roden Sr. was likely unalived the night prior around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the evening, which, wow. Because here's the thing about this. So we know from the opening statements that, and because of the phone call made from Chris Sr.'s cell phone to Billy Wagner's cell phone, that there was a call because the ruse was Billy couldn't find his cell phone. So what I am thinking about at this point is Dana Roden, because I believe that she would still have been at work at this point. So, right. Yeah. So I'm thinking that she would have still been at work at this point, which would mean that this is actually even more devious because they would have had to lie in wait. I just, this is a lot. Okay. Let me go ahead and push play. Let me get my thoughts together so I can see if that's right.
And if you could tell us what were some of the signs of decomposition that you found other than the absence of rigor mortis?
He had some skin discoloration. Sometimes the body turns a little green, especially around the abdomen where your intestines are. The intestines have a lot of bacteria. After you die, that bacteria multiplies. Some of the bacteria produces gases, so the body gets a little full of gases, starts to blow up a little bit and change color. He was starting to do that. As well as after I started the autopsy and looked at the inside, his organs looked like they were starting to fall apart, which is another sign of decomposition.
And you indicated that you took some x-rays, correct?
Yes,
You talked about gunshot wounds to the head and or face, and then also two in his, was it torso or
Yes.
abdomen? And then was there another gunshot injury?
yes, there was.
And where was that?
On
Excuse
his
me.
right forearm.
Okay, and can you describe that injury?
That wound, before when I described entrances and exit wounds, I talked about small circles and maybe when at an entrance wound and the exit, usually there's little tears. His forearm was so destroyed and lacerated that the skin was peeled back. You could see the muscles, you could see the fractured pieces of bones in there. There was so much trauma there, you couldn't see an entrance and an exit wound. His arm was barely hanging on to the end of his elbow. So there was significant trauma to that wound, to that arm, excuse me.
Did you form an opinion about what would have caused the injury to that arm as far as the type of weapon?
Yes.
And what was that opinion?
My opinion was that a high-powered weapon caused that wound. The faster the bullet, the more velocity, the more damage it causes to the human body. And that was extensive damage to that arm. So it wasn't similar to all the other wounds that he had on his torso and his head. So it was a different weapon, and it was, in my opinion, a high-powered weapon.
Okay, and when you say high-powered weapon, what are you talking about?
Rifle, a shotgun, something that pushes the projectile farther and faster than a regular handgun.
Okay, something like an AR or a SKS or something?
Oh, yes, something like that, yes.
Okay. 1416A.
Okay, Mrs. M. And this testimony is going to be, I remember I was talking yesterday about how was the state going to put George Wagner the Fourth
I think you just have, there's a button to turn.
at the crime scene without, no, in addition to, I should say, Jake and Angela's testimony, okay? Because that's going to be important, I think, for this jury. And so I was very, very curious how they were going to do that. And according to George's own defense lawyer, right?
Okay.
George
this is
woke
State
up in the
Exhibit
morning
E222.
and Jake wasn't there.
And Dr. Lohman, if you could just tell us, first of all, what are we looking at?
How are they going to
Is this supposed
alibi
to turn
him
on?
for the
Oh,
evening?
is it not on?
Do I need to press a button or something? I can see.
Into the morning. Does that, you know what I'm saying?
That is a picture, an X-ray of the head
Okay.
That's
of
what I'm
Christopher Jr.
wondering about.
Senior, sorry.
Okay. And if it helps you to look at that, you certainly may.
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell us, there appear to be areas where there's an intense white appearance. Can you tell us what that is?
Welcome to anyone
Yeah,
just joining
so
us. This is
bones
the
have kind of a
forensic
white
pathologist.
color on an X-ray. And then anything that's metal or radio opaque is white. So in the area of his teeth, which is on the bottom of the picture, you can see he's got some fillings in his teeth. You see that's white. But on the corner, the X-ray has L's and R's for left and right because it's his left and right. So if you're looking at the side of the picture that has the L on the corner of his teeth, you'll see a huge, almost rectangular white opaque thing. That is a bullet. So we are X-raying the head slightly crooked because you can see that we're not quite face on. And then you can see that there is a piece of metal on the corner of his mouth on the left side. That's a bullet that we're seeing.
I guess not,
And
Amelia.
then
I'm
if you look
thinking
a little
that
higher into the area of where his ear is on the left, you'll
the
see
media
two other white metal objects.
is
Those are two more bullets. So those are relatively
erring on the
intact
side
bullets.
of
That's why they're
caution
big.
as
like
far as
that.
the judge's
And then you can
orders
see
go,
some
because
small little white flecks,
technically he said
uh,
he didn't want any
kind of in the middle of the head there. That's tiny little pieces of
photographs
bullet
of
that have broken
bodies.
away from the bullet itself. So it's still showing up as tiny little fragments of the bullet, but the
Exactly,
bigger pieces are the
Corky.
bullets that are more intact.
Exactly.
Okay, and if you don't mind, Dr. Lohman, just stepping away from the witness stand for a
You
moment.
can't think, it's
And
almost
using this
impossible to
pointer,
think of
and please don't touch
every
the TV, it's a little
thing.
finicky.
Okay.
But if you can just show where you indicated the larger.
Well, right, me too,
most
Amelia.
intact bullets.
So there's a bullet right there, and there are two bullets right there.
Okay.
And the white around the rest is just fragments of it.
And you've got to really admire
And
the
again, you use this X-ray
fortitude
to
of
guide
the
you
Roden
during your
family
examination
members that
to-
are
to
sitting in
look
the
for and
audience,
cover some of those
because
Right.
these are difficult, even the x-rays. This is difficult testimony to listen to. It's and then there's the x-rays and the crime scene pictures and the fact that I don't know how they're doing it, to be quite honest with you. I don't know that I could do it. I don't
And
know.
this is E225.
I really
State
don't.
Exhibit. And again, if you can tell us what we're looking at there.
So this is an X-ray showing the bottom of the chin, the neck of Christopher Sr. This is his collarbone, and these are ribs of his chest. You can see that there is a bullet. I'm not going to touch the screen. Bullet right there. That doesn't tell us whether that's in the front under the skin or in the back, by his back. In this case, it actually is in his back, but it tells us it's on the left side, kind of in this area. You can actually see that bullet that we saw at the corner of his mouth shows up in this picture as well.
Okay. F, which is State's Exhibit E227. Go ahead.
So this is another picture of the chest. It's a little crooked. This is his spine. These are some of his ribs. And see there's a bullet down here on the left side. Again, looking at this picture, you can't tell whether it's in the front or the back, but it's actually in the back.
And there George sits stoic.
Okay. And G, which is State's Exhibit E228.
I just can't. I've never seen anything like this.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So this is a picture of the belly of Christopher Sr. This is the bullet we saw. I believe it's
Exactly,
the bullet. No, this is a
Corky.
different bullet
Exactly.
that's in the left side of the back. So he has two bullets down here. You can see there's tiny little white fragments here. So this is little pieces of bullet that are right along this abdomen, the middle of his abdomen. Christopher had a serious surgery prior to passing away, and he had a big scar on his right chest there. And in this area here, this is where that scar is. It looks like there's a whole bunch of staples. So these are not bullets, but these are staples from a previous surgery that he had.
Okay. H. And this is State's Exhibit E229.
So these are the staples that I mentioned before that are from his previous surgery. So this is his right forearm. His hand is there. It's just too dark to see. But you can see here's one of his forearm bones. There are two forearm bones. Both of them are fractured up at the top here. They're fractured in many pieces, and then they disappear. So there is tiny little white polka dots of white metal going across that forearm. We call that a snowstorm effect. So high-powered weapons, high-powered bullets break off tiny little pieces of metal and are left behind. And
You
usually
can't
it's
see
abundant
Corky?
enough
That's
that on a
odd.
black X-ray,
And
people
5,
call
6,
it
7, 8.
snowstorm effect.
Well,
So
this
it's
is what
kind of
they
an
wrote.
indication that it's a
Sometimes
higher
YouTube does that.
powered
Sometimes
weapon.
it's
So he
glitchy
has
that
this,
way.
snowstorm
But that's
effect
what
of his
they wrote.
forearm, and then maybe a little fragment of.
They
maybe a
can't
bullet
see
right
you in the
there,
chat,
somewhere
I
in
guess,
his
writing,
tissue,
Corky.
but,
Can
that
you
shows the
see
extent
and
of the
5,
damage
6,
to his
7,
right
8?
forearm.
Okay. And then I, which is State's Exhibit E230.
This is a picture of the hips and pelvis and lower spine. Tiny little pieces of metal that are in his body. Some of these are too small to collect. And this is maybe a metal, it looks a little bit like a spider. It's a little medical device of some sort that was from his previous surgery.
Okay, you may have a seat. Thank you, Doctor. So regarding some of the, quote, mostly intact bullets or projectiles that you saw there on X-ray, were you able to actually recover those items?
Yes.
Okay. And regarding the injury to his arm where you said there were multiple little tiny pieces of fragments, were you able or did you make any effort to recover from that location?
No, it wasn't possible to get any of those little minute pieces of metal. So no, nothing was collected from his forearm.
Oh, here comes Shamita with the fabulous tech support that Jen Lu doesn't even think of. You've got to make sure that you have it on top live chat and not top chat. I don't think they're going to show any of the pictures, Super Mama D. I think that the media is airing on the side of caution, because I know that the prosecutor said this morning none of the pictures are going to be suitable for publishing for the media.
Dr. Lohman, we talked
So,
about
I guess not.
collecting various standards and fingernail clippings, etc., and providing those to law enforcement. Did you do that in this case
Yes,
when you conducted the autopsy of Chris Roden Sr.?
yes,
Okay. And did you also do that with his belongings or his
Yes.
personal clothing or whatever?
yes.
Can you tell us when you initially conducted the examination while Chris Sr. was still clothed and in the body bag, did you find any bullets or fragments at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us if you additionally found some bullets in the sweatshirt that he had on?
Yes. When he came to us, the sweatshirt, both of his arms were above his head and his sweatshirt was pulled up and partly over his face, as if somebody maybe was pulling him by the sweatshirt, and the arms came up and the clothes came up over his face. When we actually pulled the sweatshirt down and then pulled it off, 2 intact bullets fell out of his sweatshirt. He had a brown sweatshirt on, so 2 bullets fell out of his sweatshirt, and I believe a third one fell out of his clothes from somewhere and landed on the floor. So we found 3 bullets as we were undressing him.
Okay. And again, you guys know not to publish. State's Exhibit E1.
I need that number. Exhibit 101.
It's 001.
See?
I think these track.
No, I didn't know that. Hi, Nonstop Mom. Good morning. I can see you. Wow, Mo. I'm sorry that happened to you. Wow. That's
Got it? Okay. Showing you up on the screen right now what's been marked as State's Exhibit E1. Are you able to see that now on there?
Nope,
Nope. Okay.
I can look across.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us what we are seeing there?
So this is Christopher Sr. as we just opened his body bag and pulled the edges back. So these are the clothes he was wearing when he was found in the position that he was found in. So you could see that his sweatshirt is pulled
oh
up
wow. Mo, I don't blame you.
over his face and a little bit over his head. And it's not that easy, but his arms are also over his head. So this is as he looks when he was picked up from the scene and put in the body bag and brought to us, and we're opening him up as he appeared at the scene.
Okay. And E2? And what are we seeing there?
So this is an overhead shot of the upper chest of Chris Senior. You can see his sweatshirt is pulled up over his head. He had an undershirt on, a gray shirt on underneath as well. Both of them are covering his face. You see what looks like brown paper bags. We usually put brown paper bags over the hands in cases of homicide to protect any evidence that's on the hands. So at the scene, we'll cover those with brown paper bags and tape. So you're seeing his hands, but they're covered in brown paper bags.
Okay. And again, this is how he was when he was placed into the body bag.
Yes.
You have not moved him at all. And can you tell us if the position of that clothing is consistent with having been drugged by your feet across the floor?
Yes, it could be from the feet, being pulled by the feet where the shirts get pulled behind and pulled over the head. It could be somebody grabbed that and pulled him from the head side as well. It's possible in both directions.
Okay. States Exhibit E3. And this, I may ask you to step out again, and I apologize.
That's all right.
If you can tell us what we are looking at here.
So this is the case number for Chris Senior when he came to our office. Everything associated with him has that case number. So when we take pictures, we put that label in all the pictures in case the picture gets separated. So this is his case number. But what we're seeing is his torso. This black area is dried blood. And he actually has a little bit of a pink scar down his belly here. You're seeing a little bit of the scar. And then this is actually a wound. This is a gunshot wound.
Okay. You can set that down. Sorry. States Exhibit E5. Okay.
Yes, Mo, they did. And that testimony was yesterday after lunch.
And again, can you tell us what we are looking at there?
This is an overhead picture of the lower half of Chris Senior, showing his blue jeans and his shoes.
Okay. And again, are those items that you ultimately collected in this case?
Yes.
And this is as he was put into the body bag as you found him when you opened the body bag?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then E6. Can you tell
The
us
jury
what,
got to see
what we're looking at there?
the interior.
This is an overhead picture of
But-
Chris's right knee.
They didn't show, obviously, it
And
wasn't
there appears to
published
be maybe
for
some
the
spots
audience,
on the pants there.
i.e. us.
Yeah, but yes.
But the one that they
Okay.
showed from the
And
outside was
E8.
fascinating. I'm just so mesmerized
what that
by
is?
the
This is an identification tag that was written
was
by
the
someone from
detail
the
and
Pike County
the
Coroner's
the
office. If a person's been identified
That's
but
the word
doesn't
I'm
have
looking
anything else
for.
on his body to identify him, we always put a label on him, on the individual, so we know who it is.
detail and the
So this is,
meticulousness. I don't
the
think
label that
that's
was on his
how
bag.
meticulous these crime scenes were processed.
Actually, it was on his body, I think it was.
I
think it was
am
his
completely
belt.
fascinated by it.
Did you also notice other injuries to Chris Sr. other than just the gunshot wounds that were obvious at this point in your examination? To his face and head.
Yes.
And what was that?
On his left forehead and left side of the face, he had abrasions and little punctures of tiny little pieces of wood. They were actually sticking out of his skin across his forehead and his cheek. And I call it pseudo stippling because of stippling, like gunshot wounds where you have little polka dots from the gunshot powder, but it's similar to that, but it's not gunpowder stippling. It's wounds that look like stippling, so I call it pseudo stippling, but it's tiny little pieces of wood that have penetrated the skin and are sticking out.
Okay. State's Exhibit E9.
Well, I'm curious about that, Mo,
And
because
can you tell us what we are looking at there? And if you want to step away again.
This is the pseudo
That's
stippling
important.
I was talking about. So all the red marks are the abrasions, and what's got white in the center are the tiny little pieces of wood.
and what was
that are
interesting
sticking into the wound
about
into his head. So there's some wood
the
in his
collection
earlobe
of
here, too,
items from
but,
Chris
definitely
Sr.'s
across his forehead.
home is the
Okay.
cache.
And Dr. Lohman, while you were there, just for
That-
clarification purposes, there also appears
was
to be a little bit
collected,
of white
right?
near
But
his
it wasn't
eye,
counted at the
on
scene.
upper
It was
part of
counted
the
later.
right eye. Can you tell us what that is?
After you die, and if you're dying in an area that's open to the environment, certain flies smell death, and they will land on your body and they will lay eggs. And
Oh, the
eggs
judge's
look
face
like,
right now.
Sawdust. Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. And where he was laying, although it was inside, it must have had access to flies. So flies found his body because they smelled the decomposition, and they laid some eggs on his face.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit E11.
What is he doing? Poor Amelia.
Can you tell us what that is?
So this is a piece of clothing.
I don't
believe
know what he's
this is
doing,
his brown
Shmita.
sweatshirt, hooded sweatshirt, and that's a bullet that fell out when we were moving the sweatshirt.
Okay. And then E12, I believe is just a close-up of the same.
I wonder what
Yes,
he's
so you
writing.
can see
You
that the
guys know
bullet,
these little details always
has
fascinate your
some
girl.
gray
I need to
color,
know
so it's a lead
everything
bullet,
that's
and then
happening.
it has a jacket that has a covering that looks copper, has a copper color.
Okay, you can have a seat.
This is just part of the magic that is me. I need to know everything all the time.
I'm going to first hand you what I have marked as State's Exhibit E234. And if you could, first of all, look at that and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes.
And what do you recognize that as?
This is a coin envelope that we have at the office. When we're collecting evidence, we put the evidence in the envelope
Agreed,
and
Super
seal it.
Magna D.
And we
Agreed.
put a barcode of the case
I can't
that
highlight
and the
that 'cause
person
you know
that
how
that evidence
YouTube roll.
belongs to. You can see the barcode. And then one of my more text writes on the bottom what should be in the envelope. So
Where are your
it
gloves,
says
ma'am?
facial hair and his case number on it. And this has Christopher Sr.'s name and barcode.
And that was something that you would have collected from Christopher Roden Sr. on
Yes.
the day that you conducted the autopsy.
Yes.
You never know,
Okay.
Mo, when that knowledge is
Um,
going to come in
I'm going to
handy.
hand you 2 packets now.
Never.
E235 and E236, if you can tell us what those are.
These are the fingernails that we trimmed from the left hand and the right hand of Christopher Roden. I mentioned earlier DNA or tissue underneath the nail. We always collected on homicide cases, just in case there was a fight and maybe somebody else's DNA would be under his nail. So we've collected those and sealed them in the envelopes.
Okay, and can you tell us which one is which? E235, is that from the left hand?
235 is the left and 236 is the right nails.
Okay. And again, you recognize those as items that you collected from the body of Christopher Roden Sr. on April 25th of 2016?
Yes.
Okay. And additionally,
That's me, that is me as well. I know a little about a lot of
E238.
different things, Mo. Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is the clippers
But
that
I
we use to
maintain
cut the nails.
you just never know when that
Sometimes
kind
there
of
may
knowledge
be
comes in
evidence
handy.
on the ends of the clippers as well, so we keep those as well as the fingernails.
and then E239. Sorry.
That's all right.
And I like to be prepared.
This
whatever
is
life
more
may throw my
hair that
way.
was collected from Christopher Roden.
Okay, and is that a standard hair sample that you collect?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, I spent the better part of the forensic pathologist testimony trying to figure out if she was wearing a shirt underneath that blazer, because
And then handing you what's
I
been
couldn't
marked as
tell.
State's Exhibit E240. If you
Why?
Can indicate to us what that
I don't know why that was of concern to me. It has nothing to do with what she's testifying about.
E240
It's
are
not
fingerprints
gonna
that we collected.
make
We
her
collect all 10
testimony
fingerprints
more
on an
or
individual
less
who's a victim of a
relevant or
homicide.
believable, but
So
for some
we
reason your girl was
have cards
curious
for each
about
hand and we
that.
put it in an envelope.
Who
And it's got
knows?
our label on it with Chris Roden's Senior's name and number on it. And it has BCI written on it, so we gave it to BCI.
Also, I don't know if you
And
guys
then
have noticed this and if this has
E241.
something to do with the way that the witness is seated in the witness box or what the deal is, but I can no longer see the crack in the
This
plaster.
is what they call an FTA card or a DNA
And I need to
card.
know where
On
that
every
went.
individual that comes through our office,
they
we
fix
take
it?
blood spots
Is it hidden
for potential DNA if
because
needed.
of the camera angle? Who knows?
If a blood spot is at a scene and you want to compare it to the deceased individual, we have this card that they can do that.
And then E242.
I sure do.
If you need to move stuff around so you can.
I sure
you can
do.
see.
Hmm. I sure did teach her son where the warp
So this is a plastic bullet
spots are.
box that
The
we usually
cannons.
put bullets in
Sure
that we
did.
collect. This has Christopher Roden Sr.'s number on it,
I'm rather
or
proud of
name
it.
and a barcode. It has a number 2. We probably number each one of the bullet boxes so we keep track of how many there are. On the side here, it has his case number and it says the words bullets in shirts. So the bullets that we collected from his shirts that fell out of his shirts, we put in the same box. And you can barely see it, but they're wrapped in plastic. You see there's one bullet there and one bullet over here. So these are the bullets we pulled from
Now that
his
song's
clothes
going to be
when
in my head.
we took his clothes off.
Okay, in that photograph that we just saw.
That's one of the bullets that's in here, yes.
Okay, and if you could go ahead
WKRB
and
in
open that up,
Cincinnati.
and
Judge, we'll stipulate.
So,
We'll stipulate that those are the bullets recovered.
Oh, you're gonna
Okay.
stipulate mid,
so what's the stipulation? That those,
That the items in Exhibit 242 are actually the bullets recovered
From the shirt,
from the shirt.
in the body bag. Okay.
all right, the jury will accept that stipulation as fact, as if it had been evidenced by testimony here in the court.
I will say this. There are several songs
camouflage.
that are in rotation in my brain and Kyle's Mom is one. Yeah, WKRP. It's WKRP in Cincinnati. Something like that. Or it's been a long time since I've watched that show. But I have a constant rotation in my brain. And I don't know why, but Kyle's Mom just stays in rotation in my brain for literally zero reason. There's absolutely no reason for that song to be on repeat in my brain at all. But yet, here we are.
Judge, to be clear, we are willing to stipulate to these physical exhibits that were recovered or produced during the autopsy. The state's willing to accept our stipulation.
Well, I'm not sure whether it's quicker to do a stipulation than it is just to have the doctor testify. If you can do it either way, but we just have to make sure if it's stipulated that we have a stipulation stated on the record so we know what it is.
Yeah, sir.
If you wish to just have the doctor identify it, then
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna have her open up except for one, so. Canning you what's been marked as State's Exhibit E251. Again, if you can just let us know that, please.
This is
Guys, I'm
his
good to
underwear, his
stream.
boxers that we removed from his body.
Till 11 today, about 20 more minutes. Because I'm trying to work on this video for later. But of course, I'll be back tonight. I know everybody's just giving everybody.
E252.
These are the brown paper bags that were on his hands originally. We kept them just in case someone wanted to look for evidence on them, so we put them
It's
in.
just one
the
of the
separate
many
evidence
services
bag.
we provide here at the ward. No need to thank us. By us, I mean me, because it's just me. I just like to feel fancy. Well, Nonstop Mom, you've missed. Okay, I will say this. I don't know when you dipped out to get
I'm gonna ask you to put
the
some
snack,
gloves on, if you don't
the
mind. There's
snacks,
some there.
but Baby Got Back is the name of that song, Mo. You missed that? Well, no, you didn't miss it because now you're here. But the forensic pathologist has testified that due to the level of decomposition present in during
Ask
Chris
you to step over
Roden
here.
Sr.'s autopsy that he was likely unalived sometime between 10:30 and 11
Tell me if you recognize it.
p.m. the night before. So that would be
Your Honor,
the
I would like her to be sure
21st
that, there's some
of
holes in there
April, when they were discovered the 22nd of April,
I'll permit
2016.
you to continue the question.
Oh,
This is the switcher that Christopher Senior was wearing.
And if you could, tell us where you observed holes on that.
where's
and
the
if you
closed
observed
captioning?
holes on the autopsy.
I did observe holes at the time of the autopsy. You can see a hole right here. That's in the chest area. There's a hole right here. I don't know if you can see it. That's his abdomen. This is his left sleeve that did not have anything on it. His right sleeve has a hole on the front. See it right there? And then this is the back. The same sleeve. So the bullet entered on one side and exited on the other.
No, April, babe.
There is a hole in his
April.
back
This
right
happened in
side.
April. Did I say August? I'm so sorry. April in Ohio,
And I believe that's it
which
for
you're
the hole.
from there, so you know.
Okay. And then also in his hood,
Yes.
were there some holes?
Yeah, there's a
I'm
hole
so
right
sorry
here.
for if I misstated.
And then, I think that's it. One more?
I apologize. So April
Photographs as well.
21st, the evening of
appears to
April
be
21st,
also saturated
2016 is likely when
blood on
Chris
the back
Yes.
especially.
Roden and
Yes.
Gary Roden, well, they haven't testified about,
Go ahead.
she hasn't testified about Gary Roden, but he was there, so. And then the rest of the family, I think, is going to be April 22nd, 2016. Sorry for the confusion. You know, my brain just out here wilding out for no reason. Mixing up dates.
And likewise, Doctor, I'm going to open up what's been marked as States Exhibit E 254.
And also, I would like to state for the record, it's not really a statement, it's more of a question. So, given
Ask
the
you to
weather
remove this item
in Ohio
and do the same
and how
thing.
Judge, we'll stipulate.
long it stays cold, and given the pictures from the inside of
Your Honor, again, I just want
the
the
grow
jury to see
room,
the,
I can't imagine them
She's
having
going
a
to
very
identify what it-
sophisticated,
what is that?
it doesn't look like they
This
had that
is the,
sophisticated of an operation going as far
This
as
is a
growing, because
green-gray appearing t-shirt. This is what was under.
it's a barn, which is not insulated.
Brown sweatshirt.
You know what I mean?
Again, you see a hole
I don't know.
right there.
And by sophisticated, I mean it wasn't something that they were doing,
Again, one in the abdomen and one in the chest.
like it couldn't have been year round because weather, and they don't have all of the lot. You know,
And
it's got to be warm
Again,
and
is
moist.
that
That's
consistent
what
with
you
the,
is required
gunshot wounds
for
that you
those types of
observed on
plants.
Yes.
scene?
So it seems to me like they would have only been able to really, it's a short window of time. So it couldn't have been their main source of income, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
And then as far as the,
I hope I'm making some tiny bit of sense.
E255. Again, you don't need to remove those items.
Because I kind of don't feel like I am.
These are his blue
Oh,
jeans.
good. Nonstop Mom gets it. Thank you.
It's not clear if the belt is with the jeans, but these are his jeans.
And again, that would be an item that you collected from Chris Senior.
Yes.
August 25th,
Yes.
2016. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up this item, which is E256.
Yeah, that's chilly. Thank you, Mo. Sometimes I wonder, like, obviously we all have that inner monologue in our head, and obviously I can hear the things that are coming out of my
I'll
mouth.
just ask you to,
And sometimes I wonder if I am even making sense. Like it sounds smarter in my brain when I'm thinking than when it actually comes out. It's quite a conundrum. I am very concerned that she's handling evidence without gloves.
and again, last item, E259, I won't have you remove it, but can you tell us what this last item is, please?
These are his
Welcome back,
socks.
Amelia. I've heard a lot of coughing from the gallery today. Can we pass out
Yes.
some water?
Okay, and again, for each of the
Oh, yeah,
items
the
that you
closed
just
captions
identified
is the
that were
best.
collected from the body of
They
Christopher Roden Senior
Just be
on
making
April
up
25th of
words.
2016.
It does, Mo. It's
Did you
sad.
provide each of those items to the BCI agent that was present for the autopsy?
On this day, I believe there was someone at the time with us, but when he returned to the office and we gave him the evidence at that time.
Okay, I apologize.
That's all right.
Your Honor, I don't know if we want to take a morning break. I'm about to transition to more detailed conversation about the injuries.
And
or
they
if you
were-
want me to keep going.
Well, if this is a meaningful breaking point, then we can take our break now.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our 15-minute morning break at this time. I have 10 till approximately, so 5 after 11 will be the time we'll take back up. You're to be at the jury room on the first floor to be brought back up by court personnel. You know the rules. While you're on break, do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. You're not permitted.
Correct. Don't be chitty chatting about the case, jurors. So this is probably a good stopping point for me too, just because I'm trying to work on this video for you guys, and but I'm going to keep watching. Of course, I will be live this evening. We're going to do obviously with a recap because it's a lot. And yes, Mo, 100%. They got dressed that morning and they had no idea. Well, according to the medical examiner's testimony, this took place. I'm going to go back and listen to, while they're on their break, what she said about the time of death for Chris Sr. and Gary Roden. Although, to be fair, she hasn't actually testified to her findings with Gary Roden because she's only discussing the findings in her autopsy of Chris Sr., who she did separate on a separate day. So for the first day, she did Hannah May Roden, Dana Roden, and then Hannah Hazel Gilly on the first day. And then on the second day, she did Kenneth Roden, Gary Roden and Chris Roden Jr. And then Chris Roden Sr. was done Monday because his looked to be a more complicated case. And so she wanted a separate time. But from what her testimony was just a bit ago, that's what it sounds like, is that Chris Sr. was unalived between 10:30 and 11 p.m. on the 21st of April, 2016. Oh no, I can absolutely send you the link. I don't know if she still has it up, but I will send you. Give me just 1 second and I will post it for you. Yeah, let me. She actually did another recap from day 5, but so let me see here. All right, let me click this so that I can just send you the direct video. Okay. I think, all right, her name is Anjanette Levy or Levy. And that's the direct link to that specific video, which would have been day 2, because day 1 was opening statements. So that's the direct link to that video. And I think what I'm going to do is on Sunday night, we only got halfway through that. And so I want to finish that. It's kind of hard to get it all in because I'm doing it in the morning and stuff. And so I definitely want to go over that on Sunday too. If you guys want to join me for watching and then commentary, obviously, you don't need me to tell you what she's saying. You can watch it independently, but I like to comment about it. So I think I'm going to do that Sunday night. Saturday night is going to be more West Memphis 3. Friday night, again, is the roast. Dr. B and I are going to be listening to the phone call between Melanie Gibb and Lori Vallow, and Chad Daybell is somewhat in the background. And I think she, nudges him every so often when she wants him to speak to, when she'd like for him to address Melanie. But I will be live again tonight, 9 Eastern, as usual. And we'll go over all the things from today's testimony. All right. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you tonight. If you haven't done so already, would you do me a favor and thumbs up the stream? I'd greatly appreciate it. If you have people that are interested in this case and might want to hear my commentary, share. I'd appreciate that too. And I guess this is where I'll leave it. Bye, you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you tonight. Goodbye. Oh, and thank you guys all for coming too. I appreciate it. You guys are excellent support, and I really am so very grateful for that. All right. Bye, you guys.